This is episode 5, Lies and Logic with Colab Barbershop, welcoming Kai, very good friend of myself and Andrew.
Hey.
How's everybody's week been? I guess, no point in asking that because we talk all the time, but hey, our small audience might want to know.
We'll be big, man.
How you been, Bran? How's the week been? How's the response since the last podcast been?
Oh, it's been fine. Nobody said anything to me but good things. Nobody will say anything bad to me.
Oh, of course.
But
You're too threatening.
I guess. So I didn't know me well enough. But it's been good, though. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and I got good feedback, and it was super enjoyable. So
Good.
I'm hyped,
Good.
yeah.
And no fallout?
I don't even
Cancel?
notice. Probably.
Like I said, I think it's hard to cancel a guy. Bran was actually, he was talking a lot about, I don't know if you watched it, but he was talking a lot about just how shitty friends can be, and, I worry about being canceled, not myself, but other people. I don't want to see other people getting canceled, but nowadays that's a legitimate threat for all of us, I think. And if you're a logical thinking person, it becomes very easy to potentially get fucking canceled.
It depends on like the age range of friends as well. Like, Brad, how old
Lean a
are
little
you?
closer to your
21.
mic. Okay.
How old are you, Brad?
Just pull
21.
your mic in closer.
21.
21.
He's 21.
Matt,
42. 42 next month.
Andrew,
I'm 35.
37.
I thought you said you were. You're almost 38.
I'm almost 38. I got a couple months.
Right.
you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Kai, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Kai
And how long have we known each other?
since 2008.
And you're filling in for Coco in case anybody wondering where our beloved Coco is. She's
We miss
sick
you.
again.
Get
She's sick
better.
again. Poor thing. But yeah, okay. Well, this is Kai, very good friend of myself and Andrew, and we're happy to have you. Thank you for filling in, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of you.
Yes.
But I guess my main question would be, if you've thought about it, if you were to reflect back to your life, what would you call the earliest wrong turn that you can think of? Does anybody want to chime in first?
Since I'm the newest, I will let somebody
Yeah?
else go.
Oh, you're going to let
I'm
somebody...
gonna,
I thought she was going to take it. Like, okay. That's bold.
I'm gonna like
Yeah.
feel the room because
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I dropped out of high school / got kicked out. I was a shitbird kind of kid, but there are times I think
Why'd you get kicked out?
I punched my vice principal.
Right, I've heard
I
this
threw a
story.
stapler.
That's pretty
for-
hard.
Yeah, through a stapler.
Yeah.
You punched your vice principal.
A lot of people don't know that.
I imagine that's a wrong turn.
Yeah,
It's a wrong turn.
But I still don't regret punching him. He's an asshole.
How old
but
were you?
16,
Okay.
15, 16. Yeah, just like dropping out / getting kicked out. I feel like if I was maybe applied myself a little more in school, then maybe I would have a different career path. But at the same time, it's easy to start thinking going down that, what if I did this, what if I did that, and have regrets, right? Because you don't really want to have regrets because, you're still here. Just kind of learn from that.
Where do you think your life would be if you didn't punch that principal?
I don't know. Maybe I would have had a totally different career. Maybe I would have had some high paying job. Maybe I would have ended up being smart.
You are smart, man.
Oh, thank you. But maybe I would end up having an education, right? I still consider myself pretty well educated in certain topics. I mean, there are certain things that if I don't know anything about it, I'm not going to even try to address it. I'm not one of those guys to fake it till you make it kind of thing, right? But at the same time, probably 5 or 6 years later, I met Kai through an ex-girlfriend of mine, moved to Vancouver. Me and Kai lived at a place together. We were awesome roommates. Made some lifelong friends over there. Ended up going to hair school while I was there, and I don't have any regrets about that because I enjoy doing hair. There's certain things that I don't enjoy about doing hair. There's certain things that may not be my forte. Mm-hmm. But I still get to get up and, some people come into the shop, they're having a shit day and they vent to you about their problems and you give them a good haircut or color or whatever and they leave a little bit happier, right?
Feeling good about them.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of jobs where you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some jobs you just so maybe it was good that I dropped out of school or kicked out, whatever you want to call it. Because maybe I would end up doing some career that I just fucking hate. You know, just going some 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. Yeah, make good money, but like hate what I do, right? Yeah. So.
Do you think there was like some behavioral things or something underlying to those decisions?
Oh
Or
yeah,
those
you know,
actions?
I became more rebellious in my teenage years, and you know, I got arrested a few times before I was 18, and luckily I
Let's
smart.
talk about that.
You want to talk about that?
Let's find out why.
Okay,
Ah,
first time I got arrested, 13 years old. Me and my
13.
yeah.
Good Lord.
Oh Jesus Christ! Shut up.
13.
No, me and my friend Vaughn, not my friend anymore. So my friend back in grade 8, we took his mom's car out joyriding. He said he knew how to drive stick shift. He didn't.
Okay, I've done that too.
Decided to go down some busy road
think I
in
was
rush hour
14.
traffic.
Yeah, I was 14
Yeah.
too.
But like, decided to go
You do
down
it
some
on the
busy road in
resident
rush hour
road.
traffic, and it almost hit a fucking sheriff's van. You know.
man.
So of course he got arrested for that. And second time I got arrested, hung out with this old friend named AJ.
are we doing real names?
Yeah, we are.
Sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was this friend named AJ, and we snuck out in the middle of the night, and we decided to go break into cars and steal shit, and we got caught red-handed.
That's so funny you say that because I was 14, and my friends and I decided to roll his dad's car out of the driveway. So we put it in neutral.
So you couldn't hear it.
So you couldn't hear it, and we backed it out. We were 14.
Oh, yeah.
14 years old. We were all in grade 8. We pushed the vehicle out of the driveway, and then we pushed it down the road, started it up, and obviously this is like 2 a.m. in the morning on like a Friday or Saturday night. We're 14 years old. And of course, we get pulled over.
Was this a manual or an automatic?
It was manual.
Okay.
It was a manual. And we get pulled over and we get arrested. But it was a chase. We actually got chased. And I remember I was really impressed with my friend who was driving because he was 14 years old. And he's outrunning the cops for quite some time. And then finally he just decided because his passenger was telling him, let's stop. Let's just stop. So finally we stopped and we all got arrested, but they were actually really nice to us considering because we were just kids. And the crazy part was, you know, again, trying to avoid naming names, but my friend's father, I guess, knew some people, and we all got away with it. No parents were contacted that evening.
Nowadays, no.
No parents were
chance.
contacted. We all got sent home, and my parents never found out that I was arrested, ever. I mean, till eventually I was in my 20s and, you know, admitted it.
Or until now, you know.
Till right this
we're watching
moment.
this podcast.
But no joke, they never found out, and we got arrested. We even had court dates. Court dates that were never communicated to our parents. We were all 14. There were 5 of us. The car was jammed. And so we all show up to court because my buddy's dad had gotten the information given to him. So we all show up to court under, I guess, his guardianship. And the arresting officer doesn't show up. Doesn't show up because he had made a phone call. And I think he was like connected to some type of mafia shit. And cop never shows up. The case is thrown out, and we all went home, and no parents were contacted, which is the most insane part about all of it. 4 of us were not this parent's guardian or kids at all, and nobody was. So that goes to show you how power can sometimes work. Like this guy was connected somehow, some way to keep us from getting in trouble. Wild time. But anyway, sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, it's all good.
Yeah, same sort of idea, which is.
Yeah, I mean, for like the repercussions of me when we took that car out joyriding, like I was just in the passenger seat, right? But because when he almost hit that sheriff's van, you know, he freaked out, and we ended up driving across some like very nice old man's front yard, just tore up his fucking lawn, and then went down this main road. There was middle of fucking rush hour traffic, zipping in and out of traffic, and at this point, he's forgetting he's driving a manual, so he's not even shifting. The car overheats. And we did literally a 540-degree spin down this 2-lane road. Still didn't hit a fucking car.
And you're 14?
Yeah. No, 13.
13.
It's like still didn't hit a car once, and ended up like just like sliding into somebody's driveway. And of course, like this van, like the sheriff's van, like turned around and like came after us. Well, probably still calling the cops. And my buddy, it was down by Colquitt's Creek. Like this house is in front of Colquitt's Creek. It's near Wilkinson. It was on Wilkinson Road, like near Wilkinson
Castle.
Jail, right? Yeah, the castle there. So he had the grand idea of, let's run for it. Like, dude, we're not gonna fucking make it anywhere.
13. I mean,
Yeah. So like, I just sat there on the hood and just waited. Like the guy's like gonna be here in like 10 seconds. I can see him, and my buddy went into Colquitt's Creek and tried to like swim across the creek, and cops came and like fished him out of there.
I need a visual. What kind of vehicle was this?
It was a Saturn.
Okay.
Like an old Saturn.
Matt, what was the car?
I'm trying to remember.
It was a piece of shit.
I'm pretty sure it was a minivan.
Nice.
Oh no! It was a sedan. It was a 4-door sedan. It was like a Taurus or something. It was like almost like a cop car. It was almost like
I needed
a
a
modern
visual
cop car.
for these stories.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
were not cool cars by any means. They're little family soccer mom grocery getter cars. Third time I got arrested,
Not
my buddy
proudest
burnt down a
moment,
porta potty.
Say again.
What? Burned down a porta potty?
Yeah, we were walking home from some house party. We were both pretty toasted, and yeah, just like walking by the job site. My buddy's like, "Oh, I gotta take a piss, man." I'm like, it's like, "Oh, porta potty," you know. So he goes in there, and they usually lock those things at night. He
Just
just
a
walks right in.
random one?
Yeah, some random, yeah, it's a job site, like a
they
porta
lock
potty
those
on a
in?
job site,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
work
probably
site,
do.
right? Like a construction site.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too random. Not just like, you know, some porta potty in the middle of the forest, you know. But so yeah, he goes there. I'm waiting across the street, you know, at the bus stop, I'm waiting for a bus, and he comes out. He's like, "Oh, dude, I just lit the fucking toilet paper on fire." I'm like, "Let's get the hell out of here." So it was down the street from like the street I grew up on. So we're walking up Gorge Road, and I turn up our street, and I hear this car just rip around the corner. And by this time, I could tell like a cop car by like the fucking sound of the engine, you know. Immediately, I just like stopped dead in my tracks, and lights us up, you know, puts on the red and blues. The cop actually got out of the car and, I shit you not, pulled his fucking gun on us. And I'm like, dude, we're 16-year-old kids. No,
Yeah.
no, I was 17 at this time.
Second time.
Cops
I
were
was
crazy
arrested.
back then.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if they're still like that.
Well,
Maybe Brand can fill us in.
well, he's saying, he's like, get on your fucking knees, get on your knees, get on the ground. And I'm on, like, he's like, turn around, get on your knees. I'm like looking at him, and he's coming up to me with like pointing his Glock like right in my face. I'm looking at him. I said to him, I remember, I said, "Are you gonna arrest me or are you gonna shoot me, man? Because I'm about to shit my pants."
Defense mechanism. Shit your pants.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember when I was 14, 15, we would come out of parties and cops would show up, and cops would just pepper spray the crowd. Just
Oh yeah.
And I
I've
remember my
pepper sprayed
buddies would go
twice.
home just freaking out, like, I can't see, I can't. I'll never forget that. We were just sitting there, just sitting on the sidewalk. Like, the cops came in and we were just chilling, and they just shot it at everybody.
Nobody
Crazy.
had cell phones back then to record it.
That's true.
'Cause we're
yeah,
old.
that's a good point. Yeah, I totally forgot about that aspect of it. Brand,
No evidence.
You ever have crazy, encounters with police officers at your age?
Kinda, but I think it's a little bit different. Like, I think it depends on things, right? Like, if you're, well, where you guys are all from here, like born and raised out here.
Yeah. Well, on the
I'm born
island.
and
So
raised.
you're dealing with Vic PD, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was dealing with Saanich because I grew up in Saanich.
Yeah, me too. Saanich, but Saanich and Vic were pretty much the same back in the
I
day.
think that like these like what do you call that, right? Because I dealt with the RCMP when I grew up. So
Where did you
right?
grow up?
In Prince George.
Right.
Oh, I lived in Prince George, but I'm from Terrace, so
You lived in PG.
I was born and raised in Terrace, and then I lived in
Terrace
Prince
is
George.
just even greasier, man.
Those are like in the top 10 most dangerous places to
Yeah,
live in
so
British Columbia.
when I was for partying, I think that like me and my friends were talking about this a while ago. I think for shit like just shit like that, like partying when you're at a young age and doing bullshit like that, we got away with a lot because that's all we did. Like when I was like 13, 14, like that was normal. It wasn't a weird thing to do, and every kid was doing it, and every cop knew every kid was doing it.
I feel like cops definitely don't get away with as much as they used to.
So
Well,
I
it's
didn't
because
get
everybody's
maced. I didn't get
camera phones
maced
now, right?
out at a party, right? Like these cops would come in. I mean, mind you, I'm a bit younger too, right? But these cops, like, they would come in and play pong with us, and then tell us to quiet it down, and we're all like 14 years old. So it's a little bit different, but I think it in what aspect you deal with it, right? Like when I was at parties, I didn't really. I mean, I got threatened to get thrown in jail a couple of times. That's the worst that happened. But when I got pulled over just on a regular day, that's when it sucked. It was worse like on the casual stop than it was on when you're actually doing bullshit, you know, which I found was a bit weird, to be honest. Now that I'm hearing what you guys are saying, like I never got maced out at a party, like
Yeah.
What area did you grow up in, Prince George?
downtown. I think when you first brought this up the other day and like, oh, think about it. I was like thinking too deeply, like, oh, what's some
Yeah.
big internal thing? But I don't really think it's that deep. I think when I was younger, like in high school, like getting into high school, I just got into the wrong shit. I can't go too much into it, but I think that's where I made my like wrong footing, and not necessarily what I was doing, just how I was doing it, where I was doing it, like everything but what it was just not who I wanted to be. And I actually look back on myself now, like I actually had to delete Snapchat and like get a new one because I'd have memories pop up. I'm like, I can't even watch that shit. Like that is not who I want to like be at all, and who I think I am and who I try to be now. So I don't know. I'm a young dude. I'm sure I'm gonna make a lot of missteps along the way. Like I'm
Well, let's
I'm
hope
sure.
not. That's
I
what
mean,
we're here for, brother. We're here to help you. We're here to help you.
It's life though, right? Like I'm sure one
My
day,
worst mistakes happened after I was 21.
well, there you go. Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So who
After I
knows?
was 21.
I'm sure I got a lot of learning to do still, but I think the biggest was just getting mixed in, and it was hard because I was like, you're from Terrace, like small town. It's
I
hard
lived
to
in
kind of
Prince George
avoid
as well.
things. Yeah, PG, like it's
Small.
You know everybody, you know everything. So I was just kind of, it is what it is. But I think getting into the wrong activities, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, and you have a relationship you've been in now for what, a year?
Yeah, just over.
And it's still going really well?
Yep.
Good. Good. Because I'll tell you about my biggest wrong turn that I ever made in my life. I had a girlfriend in my mid to late 20s for a few years, and it was, it was tumultuous. It had its ups and downs, and it was primarily caused by myself, and I can admit that. I mean, we're both human beings. We were both human beings and absolutely capable of sort of making things worse, because that's what we do as people, right? Like we go for the jugular when we're hurt and when we're in that hurt place. But yeah, I mean, if I was to look at how the biggest wrong turn of my life, it was the way that I viewed relationships. I compare finding a great relationship in your early years, as you, Bran, have done, and my son, who's also done. I compare that to beginner's luck at the casino, right? You walk into the casino. Anyone else gone into the casino with somebody who's never been and watched them nail everything, blackjack, slots, and they
Craps.
whatever it may be. My first time at a casino when I was in my mid to early 20s, I killed it. I won like a few $100s, and of course, naturally, you're thinking, "Oh man, I'm up this early? Holy crap! If I'm here for a couple of more hours, I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna be rich." And what happens? Of course, you walk out with nothing.
Well, that's kind of what
Early
happened with me the
relationships.
first time I went to a casino. Yeah, same thing. Won like $400. The next day, I'm like, I can do that again. Went down there, lost it all. Like, I'm never fucking stepping foot in here again.
Yeah. And the same thing happens with love. And that's what I compare how I was in my early years when it came to the relationship that I had been in. And it took me a long time to be able to admit this to myself. It's been a long time since I've admitted it to myself, but it took me a long time. I genuinely thought that there was something better out there for me, despite having everything that I wanted. You know what I mean? It's like winning money at the casino. It's like, man, I love this money. This money's amazing. This money could make my life better. And somehow you convince yourself like you're going to get more of it. And there's more of this for you if you just play your cards right.
Well, you get cocky, right?
You get cocky. Yeah. And I can admit that in my 20s, I got cocky. Attention from women was something that I didn't receive in my youth. I received it in my elementary school days. As funny as that may sound, until the boys realized, oh, the girls like this guy. Oh, they really like this guy. So what did they do in response? Humiliate me because I was small and I couldn't defend myself. So, they made me out to be this pariah in elementary school, and then that lack of confidence that I lost throughout high school or elementary school transferred into junior high, and then of course I was bullied beyond repair through junior high, and to the point where I dropped out because I thought that I went through junior high during the rap era, right? When gangster rap was becoming a thing, and everybody, was not to mention, I went to school with Rena Verk, if you've ever heard of that
Yes.
story.
My brother went to school with her too.
Yeah.
A friend of mine I grew up with was actually her cousin. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to
That's
school with
tragic.
her, and that school or that story made international
Wait, so
news.
what's this? Sorry, 'Cause
Rena
I'm
Verk?
not-
Rena Verk
familiar.
was 14 years old. I used to see her going through the halls, and she was a young girl. It was very unfortunate. She wasn't the most attractive girl, but she was still just
Bullied.
she's still a young girl. She was East Indian, and she was picked on pretty aggressively, and it got so bad that I don't really know too many details, and I'm not going to try and pretend I do, but she
It
ended up
happened down the street
getting
from my house. I know all the details.
murdered underneath the Gorge Bridge or on
the
Gorge.
Waterways.
Craig Flower Bridge on the Gorge Waterway.
So I was being bullied around the time that she was murdered. So when kids are telling you, we're going to fucking kill you, you listen. So I dropped out of elementary or of junior high after that at grade 8. And I didn't go back to school until grade 11 when I just went and pled with Mount Doug and said, hey, I'm a smart guy. I'm pretty sure I can keep up. And they just let me in. They let me in, and I ended up graduating only a year behind after missing almost 3 years of school. But yeah, it was pretty hardcore back then, man. I mean, a hard time to be bullied, especially when all that shit was going on around me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and life now, when I look back, I'm like, holy crap! If I had just stuck it out in that was a wrong turn. That was a wrong turn. Ending that, treating that situation the way that I did was a wrong turn. And I'm not gonna lie, I made other wrong turns after that. I could go back and still say, you know what? Nope, there too. I'd be in a better situation if I didn't turn right there, and I'd be a better situation if I didn't turn right there. But if I had to go back, if there was one wrong turn I could go back to and address, that would be the wrong turn. And
What wrong turn is that?
the way that I had treated that relationship, the way that I had thought that somehow, some way that it was going to get better than that. And I look back now, and to this day, I still don't see anything ever that could have been better than that ever. And for me, the most important lessons that I try and pass on to my son, which I feel he does listen to, hence why he's in such a solid, what I can tell to be healthy relationship. I mean, I don't know the complete nuance of their relationship, but from what I can tell, there's a very strong respect there and appreciation for what they have. And, that's what I feel my responsibility as a father of going through what I went through and the regrets that I do have. I do feel that as a parent, the most important thing we can do is admit to our wrong turns, especially to our children, so that they can
Right the wrongs.
Yeah, because otherwise, if I just try and pretend that, no, I was stronger without them and all this nonsense we try and tell ourselves, we lie to ourselves. We lie to our young. We lie to our friends. We lie to our the next generation. And
It's all about like taking ownership.
Bro, I'm telling you
Yeah.
that like mindset of I can get it better is way worse now too. Like fucking
I bet.
social media, man.
I bet.
And no diss, like men and women, but like when I was a young kid, man, holy, like the amount of girls that are just like they're comparing you to like Zac Efron, bro, and you're like some 16-year-old like prepubescent little boy, and they're like.
Prepubescent. That's a great word.
And now I'm like looking back, I'm like, all you guys are just bums now. Like you're not pulling anybody even close to. I mean,
No,
I'm
where
just a cocky
that's how
dude,
it
but-
always happens. Those like the kids that are popular in high school and bully everybody. It's 'cause
Now they're losers.
now they're losers, right? But
this
but
whole
always-
town.
But here's the thing.
This whole town.
But hear me out. You're talking about like the city's full of losers. We notice it more because it's a small fucking city. Okay. I lived in Vancouver, and when I lived there for 3 years, and then came back to Victoria, I realized how fucking small the city is, because nobody knew about my shit over there. Like
Agreed.
everybody was just like everybody was just living their fucking life, going along. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's losers there. Like I see it all. Like yeah, you see a bunch of bullshit no matter where you go. But in Victoria, I notice it a lot more. And the amount of shit I've heard about myself that like people say that like don't even fucking know me. I'm like, oh, like at one point I was learning new things about myself every day. It was really cool. I was like, oh.
Well, I mean, we've all been through it. You know, us older crew here, we've all been through the fucking ringer in terms of like being shredded by the people that we thought were our friends. You know, Kai, you know what it's like.
Oh, yeah.
You know, back to what we were talking about before, wrong turns. I mean, if you look at where you can recognize those, do you have any in mind that stand out? That
I'm going
you
to
are
touch
willing
back
to
on
address?
something. As you get older, you do recognize more losers. So living in Victoria, like we may have thought these people were cool back in the day or our friends. Like you said, you bump shoulders. People like, you know, you like their photos. They don't like you back.
They're
you know, they're not
weaklings.
supporting you.
They're
But
weaklings.
as you get older, you realize who the losers are and who the real people are. And the group of real people just gets smaller.
I think
And-
anybody who speaks truth, right? When you start speaking truth, when you start speaking facts, we live in this world now where everybody's so fucking sensitive. And we were just talking about this earlier, Bren. When you start speaking truth to people, they get offended. They get
course they
sad.
do.
They get emotional. Where do they lean? Into their emotions. They react with emotion. Rather than acknowledging the common sense and the logic that is being displayed in front of them, they react emotionally. And now we live in a world where we're enabling that emotion. We're telling them, yeah, no, your emotions are valid. They're valid. Oh, this person said that? Oh, well, they hurt your feelings.
Well, here's the
we
thing.
don't ask, well, what they said, was it true?
How
Was it
dare
true? Was it a fact? Because if it was a fact, why are you upset?
Well, it's
We
just
don't-
like the same thing with comedians, right? Like all these comedians are apologizing for jokes they made, and when you apologize, it's that you're admitting you're wrong, right? Like don't apologize. Like just comedy's subjective, right? But when it comes to as we get older, I find that you know some people start talking shit about you because they're mad that you don't want to hang out with them anymore, and let them talk shit. You know, take live in your early 20s for example. I remember from 19 to 25, I'm like, yeah, I just want to go to the bar. I want to meet people and have fun. And as you get older, you start realizing, okay, you know, maybe your priorities shift. Like, okay, actually, they're going to start focusing on maybe trying to be successful and getting somewhere in life. But then there are those people that are, you know, still 35, 40, 45. You know, they're still going to the bar every weekend
Still
Exactly.
and wasting their
Yeah.
life away, right?
Still living that life.
Still living that life. And they will get offended by the fact that you don't want to hang out with them anymore. And
Because
let them
they
be
don't-
offended. Just
yeah.
fucking let them be offended.
Bro, if you're offended, if somebody doesn't want to hang out with you, that already says enough. Like,
It's-
you got to work on yourself, my brother.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing, bro?
It's rejection. People don't like rejection.
Get over yourself. You're not the queen of England.
But you know, not to
Queen, you mean
She
King of
dead.
England now?
Okay.
Queen dead.
not to quickly change
what
the
it is.
subject again, but I do want to get into these wrong turns with Kai because I feel like you know have a lot of wisdom as a female in this world.
She is very wisdomous.
Wisdom is.
Wisdomous. Wise? I think that's called wise.
No,
like
I've
wisdom
always
is better.
believed that you had a lot of insight and wisdom, and you're highly intelligent, in my opinion. I've always believed that. So I really do feel like you could add some insight into this. So
I would say where people's wrong turns start, as well as my own, are dealing with your mental health issues at a younger age. A lot of people suppress their mental health issues with drugs, alcohol, going out to bars, empty relationships. So I would say that my wrong turn would be maybe addressing my mental health issues as a younger woman.
What
Recognizing, I mean, we all have things. You guys were talking about like 13 years old, 14, rebelling, going to parties, stealing cars, all those types of things. So at that age, you're probably dealing with emotions, maybe some hormones at the same time, that you were not addressing and not dealing with because you didn't have the, mature capacity and emotional capacity at that time
Plus
to
you didn't
even
have the
recognize them.
tools to
You didn't have
figure
the
it out.
tools. You're distancing yourself from parents because, you're too cool at that age. I would say, just addressing mental health issues at a younger age. And
let me ask you this. like myself, I mean, I've been in and out of relationships now since that past one I obviously was talking about, regretting not working out the way that I wanted to. I've been in and out, and looking back, it's like, why do I keep going in and out of them? Why? What is it about me that keeps attracting the girl that doesn't seem to be the right one for me? So what do you think about yourself? Not to discredit the losers that you've dated, because
We all have them.
we all have them. But what is it about your potential wrong turns? Where do you think you could have made those situations better?
Again, back to dealing with your own mental health stuff, dealing with your, just working on yourself, working on where you fell short, the wrong turns that you made in younger years, doing the internal work. Like if you had childhood trauma or, attachment problems, and, just going back to that.
But do you think that we get into a pattern of finding unhealthy relationships? I know that I feel like I have.
I think that when you have a unhealthy, toxic relationship, it keeps things exciting. And when you have a healthy, normal relationship, people get bored.
There we go.
Yeah, they get anxious. They ignore red flags. They make excuses for their partner's poor behavior because whether, their partner hasn't done the work or you haven't done the work, you're not connecting in a way that is mature and healthy. And wrong turns are ignoring those red flags in partners or potential partners.
Can you think of any red flags that might have jumped out at you in the last few years?
I mean, I was single
That you ignored?
I was single for about 6 years because I left a toxic relationship with somebody who was a little narcissistic. But we were also young. So I was single for about 6 years, casually dating here and there. And then finally I got into a relationship where I thought it was, going somewhere. And in the end, which was fairly recent, I realized that over the course of our relationship that there were red flags that I should have recognized, but because I guess I am the age I am, that maybe I just thought that person
Was what you deserved.
Yeah, was what I deserved.
I've been there.
And just where I was at in my maturity, that I thought that they had leveled up, at that they were on the same level as me. Yeah.
I think it's one of the most important things to admit to yourself is your pattern, not you in general. I just mean in people in general, myself included, is your pattern of making excuses for your loneliness.
For yourself and for other people.
Be honest. Let's be honest. Let's not try and be prideful and pretend that, half the reasons why we ignored red flags is because we're lonely and we're sad and we're depressed, and being with somebody just makes life better. It always does. It always will. We're not meant to be alone. We're social beings, and we, in order to feel complete in this world, require love, and we require a relationship. Anybody who says otherwise is lying to themselves and passing on bad information to the next generation.
It's like you need to be comfortable in your own skin sometimes. And we are social by nature and everything, but you need to have downtime for yourself. Like whether it's, meditating or going to the gym or just anything, just to you need your alone time. And if you can't be comfortable with being with yourself, then that's where the loneliness creeps up, and you start, like you said, start ignoring red flags, and you start searching for something and you start searching in the wrong places
to fulfill an empty void.
Exactly.
Well, I think we can also allow ourselves to chase what society has taught us to want, and this is why for me, I feel it's so important to pass on better information to people like my son and to Bran, who's in a great situation right now for himself. And society is going to do everything in its power to rip you and your girlfriend apart. It's going to do everything in its power. There is going to be a lot of people and a lot of forces out there that are going to be working against your relationship, because relationships are what build our society in a healthy way. Healthy relationships build families, they build wealth, they build all sorts of different things. And when we are fixated and focused on our independence, which is what society is teaching us to be fixated and focused on, it drives us apart.
Of course.
It drives us away from each other.
And sometimes we'll ask for advice from some of our friends on a relationship or something, and that is good. But there are certain people out there that will sometimes think that they will know what's best for you the whole time, and which is and they're probably just trying to help, right? But in the end of the day, you know what's best for you. Well, you should. Unless, let's say you're going down some path of heavy drug addiction, then you obviously don't fucking know what's best for you, right?
Yeah. You're lost.
But you're lost. But when it comes to relationships, people can give you their advice all the time, and it's up to you if you want to take it or not. But if you're not truly happy, if you're lying to yourself and you're not truly happy, then that's on you. But if you are happy but there's certain people that are trying to tell you, no, you need to end it, but they don't know the whole story, right?
But are they trying to give you advice because of their own wrong turns?
Well, that just could be it too. They're trying to give you advice because they've had a lot of shitty relationships too, and at that point they might think that they're an expert in that.
They've been damaged from past
exactly.
relationships.
Yeah, they've been damaged from past relationships, and they're all I strongly believe that people are trying to do that out of their own good intentions, right?
For sure.
But
Not many people are sinister.
Oh yeah, but there was a relationship that I was in before for a few years, and my friend Mark Torsten, Coco, there are a lot of people there that were telling me, and Kai, they're telling me what I needed to hear in that relationship, not what I wanted to hear, because that relationship was a constant back and forth, and it was just disgusting. Of not that she's a bad person, it was just it was
the combination of everything that was going on.
The combination of everything that's going on, and you're trying to make it work when it's not gonna fucking work. So they're all different factors that come into play. I mean, every relationship's different in its own way. But in the end of the day, if you're not happy, you need to stay true to yourself. And if you're happy, whatever's going on in a relationship, if you're happy and you guys are working on things and you're making it work, then that's great, But if you're not, then you can't keep lying to yourself.
We're gonna pause.
Yeah, sounds good.
Kai's gonna go potty break. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, I think, and I may have said this in the last or one of the last podcasts, but I've been sort of rationalizing this analogy in my own mind for the last few months in regard to our society and what it has become. And I might have said this earlier, and I think you guys probably heard me say this, but I really genuinely do believe that society has become like this blender. You know what I mean? And with every generation, the blender just gets faster and faster and faster and faster.
And filled up with more bullshit.
And it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And when you step outside of the comfort of your home, your loved ones, your girlfriend, your wife, your parents, your children, you step into this world that has become so dysfunctional. And it's become so opinionated and sensitive. And you step into it and it chops you up. It chops up the way that you see the world. It chops up the way that you interact with others. It chops up the way that you think of yourself.
The way you feel.
The way you feel. And then you go home with this chopped up perspective. And then you have to try and interact with your loved ones again, your partner, your wife, your girlfriend, your children. And they've done the same thing. They've stepped into the same blender and they've come home just as chopped up.
It's hard not to take stress home with you sometimes.
Right. And we wonder why everybody's falling apart, why relationships aren't working, why marriages aren't working, why people aren't choosing to get married anymore, why people are finding, excuses to leave relationships because, hey, it's so easy to find another one. It's just so easy to find another one. We have no value on each other anymore because we are so easily replaced. And that just starts to make people feel completely lonely and isolated because everybody in some way or another feels replaceable to the people that they have in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's no feeling of attachment anymore.
Well, and then
That's all been chopped up.
Well, and
all
then
been
like
cut
the
to
whole
shit.
feeling of being irreplaceable, like it's so easy to get inside your own head of like create like you create problems in your own mind because you're just so like the world is a negative space, right?
Well, for example, right? Like we all have very differing opinions about very different subjects, right?
Oh, yeah.
And those opinions and subjects are shifted and shaped so drastically sometimes. One day you can, I've had conversations with clients who had one opinion of something, and then you introduce them to some facts and some logic, and they go, whoa, that's completely different than the way that I had rationalized that in my own mind. And maybe that's to the detriment of their own relationship because now they're going to go home and they're going to have this new opinion of a subject that maybe their partner thinks completely opposite to, and it could create a rift, right? It could create a rift in that relationship. And that must happen daily. It must happen daily. Somebody goes to work and has an encounter that changes the way that they think about, say, the LGBTQ community. And now they go home to their partner and they have a different opinion and their partner can't fucking believe it. Who am I with now? Who is this person that I'm married to? You're a bigot. You're a disgusting disgrace of a human being because you don't think the same way I do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's even within you speak of that community. It's even within, it's everything. It doesn't matter
Well, that's just an example, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's a bunch of bullshit. Like, I don't know. That's what I have an issue with. Like, have your opinion. Like, I don't care if you believe in whatever you believe in. Like, do what you want to do.
Totally.
But for God's sake, like, stop letting other people hold such a power on you to, if they don't agree with you, you got to lose your just calm down, man. Like,
do you ever feel at 21 years old with the way that the world is? Like, I mean, what are your stress levels about your future and about the future of society like?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't see a lot of green over there, to be honest with you. Like, no. I try not to stress. I'm just trying to do me and do the best I can do for myself.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, but if I put all the worry of what society's going to be like, to answer your question, I don't really see it going in a good direction. And cancel me if you want, but it's the truth, man. Like, this, you can't even tell me that 10 years ago it was worse than it is right now. Like, we're losing our minds right now. Like, people, you've never seen as many homeless people on the streets. Like, you want to get into all that stuff, you can. Like, it's never been like this. Housing, all this bullshit.
I'd love to hear somebody who thinks things have gotten better. I'd love to hear somebody who actually believes, because on the radical left, the radical liberal left, I think there are some maniacs out there who we know personally that genuinely feel like things are better. If they were in a conversation with their leftist liberal friends, they would all be talking about, how good things are. And maybe I'm wrong, because I don't see any positive changes in the last few years.
Well, I mean, things I feel aren't better because, like just use inflation, for example. Everything keeps going up in price. And for me, for us in general, we charge a certain amount of money for our services, right? Mm-hmm. And if everything keeps going up in price, cost of rent, cost of food, gas, just everything, the cost of living, we are now forced to increase our prices or we take a forced pay cut. Mm-hmm. And then because we don't do that, we're struggling. But in turn, now we have to raise our costs, and then that's tough. That can be tough on some of our clients. Our clients can only afford a certain amount of money, right? Shit is getting out of control.
Do you think the voters that voted for Justin Trudeau feel like they made a wrong turn? Because I'm going to touch back on what our subject is today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Like I said, I was about to go back to that.
Wrong turn. Like, our economy is because of the votes.
Well, here's the thing. And back to wrong turns, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this, because obviously, there's wrong turns in my mind that I genuinely feel like if I hadn't made, that my life would be in a very drastically different place today. Yeah. I would be exponentially happier. I know that for certainty.
If I invested more rather than spend my money,
there's that.
Investing more in yourself.
You're investing more in yourself.
Your beliefs, mental health, your well-being,
but
relationships.
Here's the thing. I feel like relationships and being in healthy relationships is the key.
Certified lover
It's
boy.
what everybody strives for.
It's
the
what-
dream, right?
you know,
you think about that as a child, like what our parents, our grandparents, everybody taught us is like, you grow up, you find this like dream person, you buy a house, have a baby, get
build your
married,
family.
all these things. And it may not happen
You
in that
build your
order,
joy.
but you build your joy, and your home is where your heart is. And that's what you work on, is your heart, right? Like who you love, who loves you back, like, just surrounding yourself with friends, coworkers, family who love you.
And we've been sold a lie.
We have.
We've been sold a lie that the world is going to give us everything we want, and that we should, put all our time and attention into our education, into our independence, acquiring our independence, so that we can go out and chase the dream of having whatever the fuck this society offers us. And what does this society offer us? Outside of pleasure. What does it offer us outside of pleasure? It's selling us pleasure on every fucking street corner to addict you, to twist you up, to make it so that when you go home, making that home life work is harder. And if it's
Because
harder
you're
to
questioning everything.
well, and if your home life is harder, what ends up happening is the pressure inside that home begins to push everybody apart, and then everybody wants to live on their own. And now we're living on our own instead of living together, saving money, building wealth, building joy, and we're aspiring to pursue this keeping up with the Joneses dream.
Facade.
Yeah, we're trying to build our highlight reel.
That could be another wrong turn for me. Is like I moved out of my I moved out pretty not young. Like I moved out at like 18, 19. And
I was
maybe
19, yeah.
but maybe if I stayed home until I was like, in my 20s, maybe I would have saved more money, right?
Absolutely.
Built a
'cause-
better family relationship staying home.
exactly.
longer.
I've got a very good buddy of mine, and I think he's just about to turn 30. I've been cutting his hair since he was 14 years old. It's funny. The one thing that I loved about this guy was that he always reminded me of what my son would be like when he got older. And he is just such a nice young man now. And I remember when he was about 23 or 24, he was catching a lot of flack for still living at home with his family. And he was talking about moving out and getting a condo and renting a place on his own.
Don't do it.
And I told him, what are you doing? Stay home with your parents.
Yeah, the fridge is always full, bud.
Save your money and buy a condo. Oh, yeah, but my buddies are ragging on me. They'll be the ones.
They're just jealous, bro.
They'll be the ones that are you'll be laughing when
Your buddies are living
you
on mac
own
and
your
cheese right
condo.
now.
When you own your condo and have wealth of your own. But that's what our society has taught us to do. Our Western society has taught us to be on our own, has taught us to think that independence is the most important thing that we can acquire for ourselves. And it's like, I remember as a kid, there was so much racism towards Asians and East Indians and other cultures that were coming into our country and buying and all living under the same roof. We would make fun of them. We would
There's
laugh.
still racism between.
Oh, I know that, but we would laugh at them, right? We would think, oh man, that would be just so awful. And it was because we were all obviously living with our, Western families, and now we're all the ones struggling, and they own neighborhoods.
Well, it's like
These Asians and East Indian cultures, they own neighborhoods.
it's because the elders take care of their young, and then when the young get older, they take care of their elders, and it just keeps that like community of like loving and respect and within families.
Yeah. And for me, if I can ever give anybody any advice about avoiding a wrong turn, before you give up on whatever situation with your partner, whatever partner that may be, put the effort in. Put the effort in. Don't listen to your stupid friends who are single and unhappy. Sure, if you've got friends that are in relationships and they're offering you some insight, that can be useful. But even still, they're probably just as confused as you are. And realistically, right now, the most important thing people can do to build their joy is try and focus on the love that you have in your life and do whatever you can to preserve it and build on it.
Count your blessings,
Absolutely.
Raise better children for our future.
Absolutely. I do know that we do need to wrap this up because Andrew's got to roll. And
Gotta make it to the dispensary.
Oh, yes, I
And
wouldn't
spend
mind
more money.
making it
Before
there
9
myself.
Yeah, before 9
I
o'clock.
wouldn't mind picking up a little joint myself.
Exactly.
Is there any points before we do wrap this up? I want to make sure that I try and get as much out of Kai as possible. Is there anything you want to say?
Well, it's my
before-
first time on a podcast.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're coming on again.
I think you do have a lot of insight into life, and you, in my opinion, are one of the most intelligent girls I have ever known. So
Well, thank you.
I think-
Wisdomous.
I think
Wisdomous. Very
yeah,
nice.
absolutely.
I'm an old soul.
You've always been an old soul.
Yeah.
And I do feel like after you get comfortable in front of the camera, and you're going to have some incredible insight to offer. And I hope that we can, embrace that at some point. But again, Bran, anything you want to...
God, I had so many things when you guys were talking that I could pop in, but they're just so specific.
Save
I don't
it-
know. I'm
save
just
it
hyped
for
to be
next
here.
time.
Talking about when you briefly got into the stuff about how like the liking stuff and people not like you'll see them at the gym, they'll nod, and we kind of talked about that. The last one
No.
too.
Again, this is...
But I heard this guy, this rapper actually said this once. He's like, "Oh, if you don't come and help set up the concert, you better not be there on the stage. Like, there's no point, right?" And I feel like that's where a lot of people get lost in the sauce, right? They just think that they are entitled to like what you got going on when you're successful, but they're never there when you're putting in the work, and people just get lost in the sauce and don't really know where their place is, I guess.
Well, it's funny too, right? Because you see so many people who are doing their own thing, and you would think in their mind they would be wanting to support others who are doing their own thing, and that doesn't seem to be the case. I see so many people doing their own thing. These Arbonne girls slanging their Arbonne, and you would think that they
It
would at
works.
least.
It works.
Do you know what Arbonne is?
And I was gonna say, what the fuck is an Arbonne? What is that?
So everybody has their own idea and they're working on their own things, but it's like people like to shove their ideas and their inspiration and all this stuff down each other's throat rather than just supporting each other as a community, right? Like people's opinions or, like canceling this or conspiracies. Everybody's just trying they're trying to shove it down people's throats, right? And instead of working together or just hearing that person out and saying, "Hey, I respect your opinion. Maybe
agree.
mine's not the same, but
I agree.
Well,
Arbonne.
and
Monet.
and also if you have
Monet.
if you have a good idea, some business plan or something that you want to start doing, there are going to be those people and those naysayers who are just going to shut it down because people don't like to see people successful. Unfortunately, that's the case. Like there's a lot of people that they dwell on other people's failures. They dwell on other people's fucking drama.
Well, it's the insecurity, right?
Yeah, the insecurity,
to see
right?
other people succeeding emphasizes
like
your
some
failure.
like I can count on one or two hands of the friends that actually are there for me and want to see me succeed, right? Those of which some of those are in this room right now, right? But there are a lot of people out there that they're your friends. They say they are, but they're just going to shut down your ideas and just be negative and
Also
I've
support.
done a lot of that.
Also
yeah.
support your friends.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
don't ask for a discount. Like if you're
No,
really
yeah.
supportive of your friends, like share, like their pages,
God,
their
thank you for
comments.
saying that.
And it's like, you know what? Like don't go in somewhere and be like, "Oh, because I'm your friend, I want a discount." No.
There's
like,
this guy that comes down to Darcy's and he orders a couple of pints of beer and he'll say every time but I want the industry price because I know how much you guys make on it.
I don't want to keep holding up, Andrew. We'll wrap this up, and we'll see you guys again, or whoever sits down in another week.
Absolutely.
All right. Appreciate you guys for showing up. Thank you so much, Kai. Love you.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Love you.
You're welcome. Peace.
Lost in the sauce.